Fam friends. I'm so excited for this opportunity to connect with you. Welcome to Pelvic Floor 101. My name is Jeanice Mitchell and I'm a pelvic health physical therapist. I'm going to briefly cover 5 key areas: where the pelvic floor muscles are, what they do, how they work, when things don't work as they should, and who can help. Imagine that I am cut in half from my front to my back, right down the middle, and you're looking at the inside of my right internal organ. So here's my belly, here's my bottom. This is the pubic bone in the front and the tailbone and the spine going up. We have the bladder and the urethral canal. That's where urine is stored and urine exits out of that canal. Here's the uterus and the vaginal canal for sex and childbirth. And then we have the rectum and the anal canal where solid waste, liquid waste, and gas are passed. The pelvic floor muscles connect here at the pubic bone and stretch all the way back to the tailbone. So you can see each one of these canals goes right through the pelvic floor muscles, and the pelvic floor muscles wrap around those canals to control the canals. Now let's look at it from below. So pretend that you're at my feet looking into my pelvis from below, and we took off the skin. All of these pink structures here are pelvic floor muscles. A lot of times people think that there's just one little Kegel muscle. Not true. We have multiple muscles and multiple layers, and they do multiple things. Here is the urethral outlet. That's where urine exits. Here's the vaginal outlet, and that's the anus, where poop and gas come out. Now that you know where the pelvic floor muscles are, let's talk about what they do. So here is this view again from the side. Remember, we have all 3 of these canals that go right through the pelvic floor muscles. The pelvic floor muscles are meant to control those canals. So imagine that your bladder is like a water balloon. As it fills, it expands. The pelvic floor muscles wrap right around that outlet to help keep it closed at the right times, but also to let it open at the right time so that urine can pass through. The same concept applies to the vaginal canal and to the rectal canal. So the first job is control, or sphincteric. The second job is support. So imagine that this stretchy red fabric here are your pelvic floor muscles. And remember, most female bodies have 3 organs. So let's see what happens to the pelvic floor muscles when we load them with organs. So let's say that's the uterus, here's the bladder, and here's the rectum. Well, you can see that those pelvic floor muscles are starting to stretch a little bit. The second job of the pelvic floor muscles is support. So literally, those pelvic floor muscles are at the base of the pelvis. They literally are the floor, and they're there to hold those organs up against gravity. The third function is sexual. So pretend like this is a vaginal canal, all right? When you're wanting to insert something into the vaginal canal, do you want a really closed, tight vaginal canal that you can't insert anything into? No. You want a vaginal canal where the pelvic floor muscles relax and lengthen so that insertion or penetration isn't painful. But you also want pelvic floor muscles that have enough tone and coordination so that you have good sensation during penetration. The pelvic floor muscles are also designed to automatically and rhythmically contract during orgasms. The fourth job that we're going to talk about is stability. So the pelvic floor muscles are actually part of the core. So at the base of the core, you have the floor, the pelvic floor muscles. At the top of the core, you have your diaphragm, which is the primary breathing muscle. At the front of the core, you have your deep abdominal muscles. And at the back of the core, you have your deep low back muscles. And all of these muscles are designed to work together to help manage pressure and control movement. Now let's talk about how they work. The pelvic floor muscles are voluntary, which means they should do what we tell them to do. They can be trained and strengthened. We can train them to be more coordinated. We can bulk up their volume. We can help them to be more flexible. So basically applying the same strength training concepts and the same rehab concepts that we use in other areas of the body, those same concepts can be applied to training the pelvic floor muscles. It's important to recognize that there are different jobs of the pelvic floor muscles, and that if you have dysfunction, you want to target the pelvic floor muscles that address the dysfunction that you're having. So, for example, if you're someone that has urine leaks when you jump, well, you may not want to be spending all your time focusing on the muscles around the anus, right? You would want to focus more on the front part of the pelvic floor muscles, not the back part of the pelvic floor muscles. There's also different types of muscle fibers within the pelvic floor muscles. So there are some that are designed to quickly contract, like if you cough or sneeze or laugh or jump, those muscles that wrap around the urethra, right, that water balloon, they need to quickly contract around that opening to prevent urine from leaking out. So that's important. And then the second type of fiber is your endurance or your marathon fibers. And so those fibers are the ones that help to kind of support those organs, those deeper layer of the pelvic floor muscles, and kind of hold your bottom up over a long period of time. So a good pelvic floor muscle training program is targeting where you need the help, and then in terms of prevention, you're addressing all of the jobs of the pelvic floor muscles and the different fiber types. Now, topic 4, when things don't work the way they're designed to. Some signs that the pelvic floor muscles may not be doing their jobs are leakage, whether it be urine leaks, whether it be gas leaks, whether it be leaking of liquid waste or solid waste. Leaking is a sign that those pelvic floor muscles aren't doing what they should be doing. Also, difficulty emptying. So if you're having to strain to empty, whether it be your bladder or your bowels, or pain with emptying, constipation, so that's another sign. And then pelvic pain. So difficulty with insertion, painful insertion. Another type of symptom is like a pelvic pressure or pelvic heaviness, a vaginal bulge. Those are signs potentially of pelvic organ prolapse, where those pelvic floor muscles are getting stretched and stretched and stretched, and they're not doing a good job at keeping those organs up. And then you can also have tailbone pain, pubic bone pain, and even hip pain. So that's just kind of a summary of what some of the symptoms are. And then just understanding the incredible role that your pelvic floor muscles plays in pregnancy, labor, and delivery. So those pelvic floor muscles are having to hold all of that up over a 9-month period, right? And then when you have a vaginal delivery, those pelvic floor muscles stretch up to 4 times their resting length. So just to give you a little demonstration of that, if you can imagine your bicep muscle here, so your Popeye muscle, it attaches down here at your elbow and then comes up to your shoulder. If you stretch that muscle 4 times its resting length, so multiply this times 4, it would rupture, right? It wouldn't have the integrity to stay intact. But the pelvic floor muscles, on the other hand, that's what they're expected to do during delivery. So there can be different types of trauma that happens to the pelvic floor muscles, and I have some resources that we can dive into deeper. But some of the highlights would be levator ani avulsions, overstretching of the pelvic floor muscles, and then also tearing. So perineal tearing, there's different grades, and again, other resources dive deeper into that, but that's a summary of some of the types of symptoms that you would see with pelvic floor dysfunction, and a summary of why some of those dysfunctions exist. Now, lastly, who can help? Whether you're having symptoms or whether you're not having symptoms, what do you need to do? So pelvic floor muscle training, incorporating that into your regular routine and your regular exercises is really important. But if you're having dysfunction and you're going through exercises and you're not getting the desired outcomes that you're looking for in terms of preventing leakage or improving pain or improving pressure, then a pelvic health physical therapist is someone that can help you get over that hump so that you can do the exercises and do the activities and do everything that you love to do without leaks, without pain, without pressure. Something that I love about Ashley is that she's really, really good about cueing you to activate the pelvic floor and your deep core and integrating that into the regular workouts. So I would encourage you to continue doing that. And if you have any specific questions or you're looking for any specific training, you know that pelvic health physical therapy is a resource and an option, and we can connect virtually, you can connect in person. If you go to mypfm.com and you click on Find a PT, we have links to 4 free searchable databases where you just put in your zip code and you can find a trained, licensed physical therapist near you, hopefully. MyPFM also has some advanced training options, whether it be pain with sex, pelvic organ prolapse. We have online courses. I have multiple free YouTube videos and a lot of resources on my Instagram channel. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining me for this Pelvic Floor 101, and I hope you're energized and ready to take on training your pelvic floor.